My girlfriend said, I don't like your kid from your previous marriage coming over. I said, I hear you. Then I broke up with her immediately. She tried to backpedal when she realized she was the one who had to leave, not my kids. Original post. I, 32 male, operate my life with a certain level of architectural precision. It comes with the territory of being a structural engineer. If the foundation is weak, the whole thing comes down. My foundation, the concrete slab my entire world rests on, consists of two people, Henry, 9, and Alice, 7. I have been divorced for 3 years. My ex-wife, Meredith, and I have what I'd call a business casual relationship. We don't hang out, we don't grab coffee, but the logistics of our 50-50 custody split run like a Swiss train. The kids are happy, safe, and loved in 2 different homes. Then there was Sienna, 28. We met a little over a year ago. Sienna is, or was, the kind of woman who feels like a trophy you didn't know you were competing for. She works in brand alignment for a boutique marketing firm, which mostly involves her staring at color palettes and using words like synergy and curation. She moved into my house about 7 months ago. My house is my pride. It's a restored Victorian in a neighborhood that's just on the right side of gentrified. I bought it as a shell and rebuilt it. When Sienna moved in, the agreement was simple. My house, my mortgage, we split utilities and groceries. She kept her own money for her lifestyle maintenance, and I handled the heavy lifting. For the first few months, she was great with the kids. Or, more accurately, she was great at performing being great with the kids. She'd buy them aesthetic wooden toys that looked good on Instagram, but were boring to play with. She'd braid Alice's hair for photos. She'd tolerate Henry's dinosaur info dumps with a tight, polite smile. I ignored the red flags because, frankly, I wanted it to work. I wanted the complete picture. The crack in the foundation appeared last weekend. It was my week with the kids. The routine is standard. I pick them up from school. We get pizza. We watch a movie. We crash. It's loud. It's messy. And there are usually Lego bricks embedded in the carpet like landmines. Sienna came home from a networking brunch, looking like she'd just walked off a runway. She stepped over a pile of comic books in the hallway with a look of utter disdain. Hey, I said from the kitchen. Pizza's almost here. She didn't answer. She walked into the kitchen, poured herself a glass of Sancerre, and leaned against the counter, massaging her temples. Is everything okay? I asked. It's just a lot, she sighed. The noise. The mess. I step on a toy car in the foyer. It really ruins the vibe of the entry. They're playing Sienna. They're kids. She took a long sip of wine. I've been thinking, Grant. This schedule, it's extremely draining for me. I need my home to be a sanctuary, a place where I can recharge my creative energies. Okay, I said, wiping flour off my hands. What are you suggesting? I just don't think it's working having them here so often, she said, her voice smooth, casual, like she was suggesting we change the paint color in the powder room. I don't like your kids coming over this much. It disrupts us. Maybe you could go to Meredith's when you have them, or just keep them there and visit. I need the space to be ours. Adult. Curated. The air left the room. It wasn't a loud moment. It was silent. The kind of silence that happens right after a car crash, before the screaming starts. She looked at me, expecting me to negotiate. Expecting me to say, oh, sure, honey, let me just exile my offspring so you don't have to look at Batman action figures. You don't like my kids coming over, I repeated, voice flat. I just think we need boundaries, she said, smiling that marketing smile. For the sake of our relationship. I hear you, I said. Her smile widened. She thought she'd won. She thought she had successfully aligned the brand of our household. I knew you'd understand. It's so important to prioritize the partnership. You're absolutely right, I said. Priorities are everything. I untied my apron. I walked over to the fridge, took a magnet off, and held it. We're breaking up. She blinked. Excuse me. We're done. The relationship is over. Immediately, she laughed. A nervous, high-pitched sound. Grant, don't be dramatic. I'm just setting a boundary. And I'm enforcing one, I said. My children live here. This is their home. You're a guest. And you just insulted the residents. So, you need to leave. You're kicking me out? Her voice rose an octave. Over this? I'm trying to improve our life. You're trying to erase my children from my life. That's a termination event, Sienna. There is no coming back from that. I need you to pack a bag. The realization hit her. The power dynamic shifted instantly. She realized that without me, she wasn't the queen of a restored Victorian. She was a marketing assistant with a leased Audi and massive credit card debt. I live here, she screeched. You can't just kick me out. I have rights. You have tenant rights. I corrected her, my engineer brain taking over. Which means I have to give you notice. But the relationship? That's dead. So, you're moving into the guest room until we sort this out. I'm not moving to the guest room. The bed is a double. Then you can go to a hotel, I said. But you are not sleeping in my bed tonight. She threw her wine glass in the sink. It shattered. You are a narcissist. You'll regret this. I just walked past her into the living room where Henry and Alice were building a fort. Hey guys, I said, forcing a smile. Who want to go get ice cream instead of pizza? They cheered. When we got back later that evening, Sienna had locked herself in the master bedroom. I knocked. Sienna, out. Go to hell, she screamed through the door. Okay, I said. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow, we discuss the lease. I slept on the lumpy mattress in the spare room. I didn't sleep well, but I didn't feel sad. I felt clarified. Update 1. It has been several days since the sanctuary incident, and the atmosphere in my house has shifted from tense to Cold War-era Berlin. Sienna did not take the breakup well. Once the shock wore off, the entitlement set in like black mold. She has decided that since she technically lives here, she's going to make my life and my kids' lives miserable until I cave and apologize. She genuinely believes this is a negotiation. She thinks if she acts out enough, I'll realize I can't live without her, and I'll send Henry and Alice to boarding school or something. Here is the current battlefield report. The morning after the breakup, I woke up to find Sienna sitting at the kitchen island, wearing my bathrobe, drinking my expensive coffee. We need to talk about the living arrangements, she said, not looking up from her phone. Agreed, I said, pouring myself a glass of water. I'm drafting a formal notice to quit. Depending on state laws, you have 30 days. I'll be generous and give you until the end of the month, which is about 5 weeks. I'm not leaving, she said calmly. I've consulted my friends. I have established residency. You can't evict me without cause. The cause is that we broke up and I want my house back, I said. Also, you don't pay rent. You pay for utilities, which, by the way, you can stop doing. I'll take those over. You are now a guest who has overstayed. I contributed to this household, she snapped. I decorated the living room. I bought the throw pillows. I'll Venmo you for the pillows, I said. Now, please take off my bathrobe. She tightened the belt. No, I didn't argue. I just went upstairs, showered, dressed, and got the kids ready for school. When I returned from the school run, I found that Sienna had escalated. She had moved all of her things from the guest room back into the master bedroom while I was gone. I'm sleeping in my bed, she announced when I walked in. If you want to sleep in the guest room, that's your choice. I looked at her. I looked at the pile of her clothes she had dumped on the bed I paid for. Okay, I said. I didn't fight her. I didn't scream. I simply initiated protocol. Roommate from hell. I went to the basement and flipped the breaker for the master bedroom. Then I locked the breaker box. Sienna worked from home. She needs power for her ring light, her laptop, and her diffusers. 10 minutes later, she came storming down the stairs. The power is out in the bedroom. That's weird, I said, sitting in the living room, reading a book. Works fine out here. Fix it. I have a Zoom call in 20 minutes. I'm not an electrician, I lied. I'll have to call one. They're usually booked out a few days. You did this on purpose. You wanted the master bedroom. I shrugged. It comes with all the quirks of an old house. Maybe the guest room has better voltage. She screamed in frustration and stomped back upstairs. She spent the day working from the kitchen table, glaring at me. That evening, things got uglier. It was just me in the house. Kids were with Meredith for her midweek days. I decided to cook a steak. Sienna walked in, eyeing the food. Make me one too. Medium rare. No, I said. She froze. Excuse me? We aren't together. I'm not cooking for you. There's peanut butter in the pantry. Actually, wait, I bought that peanut butter. There's tap water. You're financially abusing me, she shouted. I don't have groceries. You have a job, Sienna, and a car. Go to Whole Foods. Use your lifestyle budget. She grabbed her keys and stormed out. While she was gone, I installed a key code lock on the master bedroom door. I moved my stuff back in. I moved her stuff out neatly into boxes and placed them in the guest room. When she came back with a bag of takeout sushi, she found the master bedroom locked. Open this door, she pounded on the wood. No, I called from inside. This is my room. The guest room is unlocked, and it has electricity. I fixed the breaker for that room specifically. She tried to kick the door. It's solid oak. She hurt her foot. I'm going to ruin you, she hissed through the wood. I'm going to tell everyone what a monster you are. You do that, I said. Yesterday, she tried to weaponize her mother. I was in the garage working on a project. A car pulled up. Out stepped Sienna's mother, Barb. Barb is the source of the entitlement. She's a woman who wears too much jewelry and treats service staff like NPCs. Grant, she barked, marching into my garage. We need to have a sit-down. Hi, Barb, I said, not putting down my wrench. Unless you're here to pick up Sienna's boxes, we don't have anything to discuss. You are treating my daughter like a squatter, Barb yelled. She invested her heart into this home. You can't just discard her because of your baggage. My baggage are my children, Barb. Sienna told me she didn't want them here. Did she tell you that part? Barb faltered for a second. She just wanted boundaries. She's a young woman. She needs space. She has plenty of space, I said. She has the entire guest room until the first of the month. Then she has the street. We will sue you, Barb threatened. Common law marriage. Alimony. We dated for a year, Barb. We lived together for 7 months. In this state, common law requires 7 years. Good luck with that lawyer fees. Barb huffed, turned around, and marched into the house to comfort her daughter. They spent the next 3 hours drinking wine, which I realized later was my wine, and loudly talking about how toxic I am. I put on noise-canceling headphones and finalized the eviction paperwork. Sienna thinks this is a game of chicken. She thinks if she makes it uncomfortable enough, I'll fold. She doesn't understand that I built this house. I know every beam, every screw, and I know how to dismantle a structure just as well as I know how to build one. Update 2. We're deep in the trenches now. It has been a week since the Barb invasion, and Sienna has decided to burn the village to the ground rather than retreat. She realized that the legal threats were empty. Her lawyer friend probably told her she has 0 case for the house, so she shifted tactics to social destruction and petty sabotage. First, the smear campaign. I work in a relatively niche field of structural engineering. Reputation is currency. 2 days ago, I started getting notifications on my business Instagram page. Abuser, manipulator, hates women. Sienna hadn't posted anything directly. She's too smart for that. Instead, she had unleashed her hive. A group of influencers and wannabe brand ambassadors she calls friends. They were review bombing my firm and harassing me in DMs. I didn't engage. I didn't plead. I screenshotted everything. Then, I sent a group email to the HR department of the marketing firm where Sienna works. Subject: harassment and professional misconduct by employee, Sienna's full name. Attached: please find evidence of a coordinated harassment campaign organized by your employee, Sienna, last name, utilizing company time and resources. Note the timestamps during work hours. I didn't ask them to fire her. I just presented the data. Corporate HR departments are risk-averse. They hate drama. Sienna came home that evening looking pale. Did you email my boss? She whispered. I emailed HR. I corrected chopping vegetables. About the cyber harassment. I have a duty to protect my business. I got a written warning, she screamed. I could lose my bonus. You were trying to ruin my career. You tried to ruin my reputation, I said calmly. Newton's third law, Sienna. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I hate you, she spat. The feeling is mutual. You have 3 weeks left. Then came the sabotage of the house. Since I cut off her access to my food and my bedroom, she decided to make the common areas unlivable. She started leaving messes everywhere. Not just forgot to wash a dish messes. Calculated messes. Sticky residue on the counters. Piles of shoes in the hallway, specifically where I walk. But the worst was the thermostat. I came home to a house that felt like a sauna. She had cranked the heat up to 90 degrees and opened the windows. She was trying to bankrupt me on utility bills. "Cold?" I asked, sweating as I walked in. "Freezing," she smirked, wearing a tank top. "Okay," I said. I went to the basement. I disconnected the thermostat wire from the furnace board. Then I installed a lockbox over the actual unit. The heat died. The house began to cool. "Why is the heat off?" she demanded an hour later. "System failure," I lied. "Parts are on backorder. Might take a month. Put on a sweater." She screamed into a pillow. It was music to my ears. But then she crossed the line. The red line. It was Friday. My weekend with the kids. I had specifically told her to stay in the guest room or go out while they were here. I picked up Henry and Alice. We were having a good time. We came home, and I started making tacos. Sienna walked into the kitchen. She wasn't wearing loungewear. She was wearing lingerie. A sheer robe, clearly nothing underneath. My kids were sitting at the island. "What the hell are you doing?" I barked, spinning around to block their view. "Henry, Alice, go to the living room. Now." They scrambled away, confused. Sienna leaned against the fridge, smirking. "It's my house, too. I can wear what I want." "You are indecent in front of children," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "Go put clothes on." "Or what? You'll turn off the heat again." I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I walked over to her, invading her personal space just enough to be intimidating without being threatening. "No," I said quietly. "I'm going to call the police. Indecent exposure in front of minors. It's a sex offense, Sienna. Do you want to be on a registry? Do you think that fits your brand?" Her smirk vanished. She saw the look in my eyes. It wasn't anger anymore. It was pure, cold calculation. She turned around and ran to her room. I called her mother, Barb, immediately. "Barb," I said when she picked up, "your daughter just exposed herself to my children in an attempt to provoke me. Come get her. Now, or I call CPS and the police, and she leaves in handcuffs." She wouldn't. Barb started. "I have cameras in the kitchen, Barb. Do you want me to send you the footage? Or do you want to come collect your daughter before she ruins her life?" Barb arrived 20 minutes later. She didn't look at me. She marched upstairs. I heard shouting. Sienna came down with a duffel bag, crying. "You're a monster," she wailed as Barb dragged her out. "I'm a father," I said, locking the door behind them. The house was quiet. I went into the living room. Henry and Alice were playing Mario Kart. "Is she gone?" Henry asked without looking away from a screen. "Yeah, buddy," I said. "She's gone for the weekend." "Good," Alice said. "She smells like mean perfume." I laughed. It was the first time I'd laughed in 2 weeks. But she still has a key, and her stuff is still here. And she's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. I spent the rest of the weekend reinforcing the perimeter. I changed the code on the garage. I put a brace on the front door. I checked my bank accounts. Nothing touched yet, but I froze my credit just in case. Sienna thinks she's the victim of a cruel ex. She doesn't realize she's the antagonist in a story about structural integrity. And she's about to find out what happens when you try to break a load-bearing wall with a plastic hammer. Update 3, final. The siege is over. The dust has settled, and the house is mine again. After Barb dragged Sienna away for the weekend, I expected a lull. I was wrong. That was just a retreat before the final, desperate charge. Monday morning, I was at work. I got a notification from my home security system. Front door opened. Then another. Guest room window opened. Sienna was back. But she wasn't just grabbing clothes. I opened the camera feed on my phone. She was in the living room. She wasn't alone. She had a guy with her, some lanky dude in skinny jeans I'd never seen before. They were moving my television. "Careful," I heard Sienna say through the camera audio. "It's heavy. Just get it to your truck." She was looting the place. I didn't call the police immediately. I called my neighbor, Dave. Dave is a retired Marine who spends his days watering his lawn and waiting for action. "Dave," I said, "Sienna is robbing me. Can you block the driveway?" "On it," Dave said. I drove home. It took me 15 minutes. When I pulled up, Dave's F-150 was parked perpendicular to the end of my driveway, trapping the guy's truck. The guy was standing by the truck, looking nervous. Sienna was on the porch, screaming at Dave. "Move your truck, you old creep." "I'm moving out." "You're stealing a 65-inch OLED," I said, stepping out of my car. Sienna whipped around. She looked manic. Her hair was messy, her makeup smeared. The brand had fully collapsed. "It's compensation," she shrieked. "For the emotional distress. For the time I wasted on you. That TV is serial number verified on my insurance," I said. "And that guy." I pointed to the skinny dude. "He's an accomplice to burglary." The guy dropped his end of the TV. It didn't break, but it thudded. "Whoa, lady, you said this was your stuff. You said you bought it." "I did." Sienna lied. "I bought the groceries, so he bought the TV. It's shared assets." "That's not how property law works," I said. "Put it back inside, or I call the cops. And unlike the indecent exposure threat, I won't hesitate. I have the footage." The guy looked at Sienna, looked at Dave, who was holding a garden hose like a weapon, and looked at me. "I'm out," he said. He jumped in his truck, drove over my lawn to get around Dave, and sped off. Sienna stood alone on the porch. The TV sat on the driveway. "You have 24 hours, I said, "to get everything that is actually yours out of this house. If you're not gone by tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm changing the locks and putting your stuff in a storage unit. You can pay the fees to get it back." "I have until the end of the month," she cried. "You just attempted grand larceny," I said. "That voids the lease agreement." I checked with my lawyer. Criminal activity on the premises allows for immediate eviction. "Do you want to test that in court?" She slumped. The fight went out of her. It was like watching a balloon deflate. "I have nowhere to go," she whispered. "My mom won't let me stay. She says I'm too much drama. I'm sleeping in my car." For a second, just a microsecond, I felt pity. She was pathetic. A woman who had built her entire identity on appearances, now stripped of her stage. But then I remembered my daughter saying she smelled like mean perfume. I remembered her in the kitchen, trying to traumatize my kids to spite me. "That sounds like a problem for your brand manager," I said. I went inside and locked the door. The next day, she came back with a U-Haul. She was alone. She spent 4 hours dragging her boxes out. I sat on the porch and watched. I didn't help. I didn't hinder. I just witnessed. She tried to take the espresso machine. "Receipt?" I asked. She put it back. She tried to take the Dyson vacuum. "I have the Amazon order history on my phone," I said. She put it back. When the truck was loaded, she stood at the bottom of the stairs. She looked at the house one last time. "You'll never find anyone as hot as me," she said. It was weak, a dying ember of arrogance. "I'm looking for someone kind," I said. "So the bar is actually quite high." She flipped me off and drove away. The fallout. It has been 2 weeks. The silence in the house is heavy, but it's a good weight. Like a weighted blanket. I did a damage assessment. She stole some towels. She took a few bottles of wine. And she definitely poured bleach in the guest bathroom sink before she left. The chrome is pitted. Small price to pay. I changed the locks. I installed a new security system. I hired a cleaning crew to scrub every inch of the house, exorcising the scent of her perfume. Meredith, my ex-wife, came over to drop off the kids yesterday. She looked around the living room. "It feels lighter in here," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Did some decluttering." "Good," she smiled. "The kids seem happier." Henry said he doesn't have to walk on eggshells anymore. That broke me a little. I hadn't realized how much her presence was weighing on them, even when she was faking nice. I'm currently sitting on my back deck. The kids are in the yard. They're digging a hole. I don't know why. They're just digging a hole and laughing. I have my house. I have my kids. I have my peace. Sienna blocked me on everything. But a mutual friend told me she's staying in an Airbnb and trying to pivot her Instagram to nomad life. She's posting photos of coffee shops and captions about shedding toxic energy. Let her post. I look at the hole my kids are digging. It's messing up the lawn. There's dirt everywhere. It's perfect,